power seem inevitable. So if you put a very strategically important island between them, 2 plus 2 equals war. Sicily was an island. Islands are surrounded by water. I guess we're just gonna have to go ahead and build ourselves a war fleet, aren't we? From scratch? From scratch. They developed ingenious new ways of waging war. They attempted an invasion of the Carthaginian heartland. Look at this. It's unbelievable. And whenever disaster struck them, they always came back again and again. The Romans have built another fleet. Oh, for goodness sake! The Carthaginians later sent possibly the greatest military general of the time, a man named Hamilcar to the island. But in the end, it was Roman determination that won the fight. I just don't care! And you have to pay us 2,200 tons of silver over the next 20 years.
Ay, caramba! That will cripple us!
And one day, Carthage will have its revenge. My beautiful son. You are vengeance!
having
What are we supposed to do? You've been a Roman ally. You're the aggressor here, and Hannibal urged us so we can punish him. No, yes, no. We'll have something to bring the folds of my toes. Which one should I fight? Whichever one we already destroyed these grounds once, and we were the underdogs. terminating supplies in the hostile mountain position. Nevertheless, with a fire on his eyes to find some portable rockets with yellow about 6,000 feet of crossing and they spent months on the road and trekking through the hostile mountains in disaster. And when they finally reached the other side, they said, "Hooray! Crossed 3 hours into a frenzy. For the second time, Hannibal was tens of thousands of costs at that point, they tried to get his very one having just left as he forced to fight his way and were now pretty much lost before his he had been a problem as the round contest animal on his way to a right now to start Hannibal was causing several men to drown, and their first combat to be out of sight small scouting parties from Saturday. Old power behind cut out in the that is what he found. It's actually the area of Canada, but as the water the river calls the soul or the way to the basic condition. They are quite on the verge of Hannibal was going to cross the Arctic Ocean and the Romans have no idea where he was murdered. For the first time, Carthaginian forces had the Romans at the town of famous Scipio's men on trial by the Romans, but he himself run during the war, so that if Hannibal survived the cross, Scipio straight was ready then we're here, so we see although in their territory with a Roman man and threats to it was way too wasn't just right in position to be Hannibal's famous crossing of the Alps was brutal. It was already honored and surprised. It was an old smoke meant to protect the sides of ice would rest on the sides of ice trying to manage hostile measures. It wasn't just strategy. Trying to keep up with the mountains headfirst into battle. That tried to push the coward men was extremely popular.
All the women in China
He had to stay on the move to keep saying his head, and he was still as he wanted in a calculated display he devastated the women and killing many warriors. All in the sight, Hannibal's army were forced to fight their way through the door, yet as massive boulders rained down on them from above. Subsequently, his well-known hustle for the sacrifice and ready to fend off the opportunity to face but lost that's constant attack. How long the false of the we never went to the side of the nobody else will die except for them. The rest of us die. Speaking of let's go. As it turned out, the descent was as deadly as ever. With the cold breeze starting to set, the path became very dangerous, and the I thought it went really well. Only to find a Carthaginian army powering the when he couldn't fight, they then fell inside the column in ambush. With the ruins destruction, Hannibal was able to deliver his circling unopposed. Last orange Hannibal for Celtic and Hannibal would ever miss he was right there. And the time of Rome allowed Hannibal to raise his arms to convince them to cut ties with Rome and to crush the arms restore that source of reinforcements. This death was the act of obligation in order to unworthy that right. Still pressure and impression on having them begun to like us. But when Fabius turned first after that, it has to obliterate his time to stand by him. However, to all the other tribes, it was his organization and his tactics on Rome. The realization that a Carthaginian army had just invaded Denmark must have been shocking for the Romans. But when they went to this ragtag we marched straight by the Alps, they only know very intimidating. However, Hannibal was now trained, and he was about to convinced by one of the most astonishing military campaigns in all of human history. This the Romans may not have known it yet, but there was now a rest within their territory, and he was vying for Roman blood. But I have a proposition. This time, when we march straight at him, we do it with a massive army. I'm talking like 80,000 men. It won't matter what kind of shenanigans he pulls. He can hide in all the bushes he wants. There's no way he can possibly beat off 80,000 men. You know what I mean? So it was. With two new consuls, Rome put together a massive army, the biggest Rome had ever fielded, to put Hannibal away once and for all, and to gather the men required. 2/3 of them ended up being completely inexperienced. But how much experience does it take to be expendable war fodder? As this massive army set out in the summer of 216 BC, the Romans knew they needed to win this battle. Just one victory over Hannibal would likely be enough to end his entire campaign, and this time, their overwhelming manpower gave them confidence they could do it. Hannibal had taken position at the town of Cannae, where he had captured an important Roman supply depot. With Fabius gone, Hannibal knew the battle was likely coming, and he was eager to fight it on his terms. But when his men looked out at the Roman camp, they couldn't believe what they were seeing. That army's huge! There's no way we can possibly beat off all these men. How are we going to beat off all these men? I think he's right, Hannibal. Hannibal then said to reply, Gisco, my friend, don't worry. There may be a lot of birds, but amongst the enemies, there's not a single man named Gisco. This joke was apparently so funny that his officers began to laugh and laugh. And when his men in the camp heard the laughter, they were like, hey, they're laughing. I guess that means we're going to win the battle. As for the Romans, the consuls were another area between the Alps and the wild Gaul, although they historian from this era was a veteran prince with Paulus' family. We take that with a grain of salt. On his day of command, the rash and hasty Varro, despite the apparent leads from Paulus, sent the army out for battle. And when Hannibal saw this, he did the same. And now comes the single largest battle of the Second Punic War, and one of the most renowned battles in history, the infamous Battle of Cannae. In all the pre-battle maneuvering, Hannibal was able to ensure his army was fighting from the south. This meant that seasonal dust-carrying winds were to his back and blowing directly into the faces of the Romans. Like I said, control. After 2 years in Italy, Hannibal's infantry had dwindled to about 40,000. The Romans possibly outnumbered him 2 to 1. Their army was so big that their maniples stretched far deeper than they normally would. The Romans planned to charge Hannibal's thin, weak line like a battering ram and break it. They also chose a narrow battlefield in the hopes it would prevent Hannibal's far superior cavalry from being able to outmaneuver them. They wanted an honorable battle where pure strength rather than trickery would decide the outcome. If Hannibal had his say, however, trickery might end up having a lot to do with it. He ordered his line to position themselves as an outward bulge, with his weakest troops at the very center. Just behind them, out of sight from the Romans, stood the elite Libyan infantry, waiting for their moment to strike. The battle commenced as the massive Roman troops smashed into the Carthaginian center. The shape of Hannibal's line ensured the overwhelming weight of the Romans hit his weakest troops first, and they were pushed back. Hannibal's outward bulge reversed inward, with the Romans being funneled in towards the weak center. Hannibal had positioned himself at the center to encourage the troops to hold out as long as possible against the Roman onslaught, because while the Romans were unleashing carnage on the center, Hannibal's cavalry needed time to do their job. The heavy cavalry on the left, after a barbaric fight, sent the Roman horse packing, with the consul Paulus even sustaining a severe head injury. He managed to move into the center to keep the battle going. Then, the heavy cavalry turned and approached Varro's cavalry from behind. At the first sight of the coming Carthaginian envelopment, Varro ordered his horsemen to flee the battlefield. The Carthaginians had won the cavalry battle, but back in the center, according to some accounts, Hannibal's line did eventually end up caving to the massive weight of the Romans, and they began to flee. The Romans pushed deeper, and organization within the army likely broke down as they became a giant mass trying to massacre the fleeing Carthaginians. They didn't realize that they were playing right into Hannibal's hands. At that moment, Hannibal's elite units, having done no fighting yet, and therefore fresh as a daisy, turned and smashed into the Roman sides. Many of these troops were wearing Roman helmets and armor they had picked up after previous battles, and the confused Romans may not have even realized they were the enemy, as Hannibal managed to regain the composure of his center and encourage them back into the fight. The Carthaginian cavalry swooped in from behind and looked at what lies before you. A military general's wet dream, the total encirclement of a much larger force by a much smaller force. The Romans were trapped. Hannibal had unbelievably managed to use their own superiority in numbers against them. Rather than simply encircling them, he had actually allowed them to use their own immense power and push themselves into an encircled position. This was the genius of Cannae. And with that, the annihilation began. For hours, the Carthaginians slaughtered the helpless Romans from all sides. The terrified Romans were so tightly packed that at times they couldn't even lift their arms to defend themselves. The killing went on so long that the Carthaginians became exhausted from the non-stop massacre, and by the time the butchery came to an end, the grim toll spoke for itself. To Hannibal's several thousand lost, the Romans suffered 60 to 80,000 dead or captured. Yet another entire army wiped out by Hannibal. Many high-ranking Romans met their end at Cannae. Polis, for one, but also 80 senators and more. It's been estimated that 20% of Rome's male population aged 18 to 50 died at Cannae. This was it. Hannibal's vengeance. The stunned Carthaginians, as they searched for their own survivors among the dead, couldn't believe the sight of it. An estimated 30,000 gallons of blood now lay spilled on the battlefield. Rome's defeat at Cannae sent shockwaves throughout Italy. Just as Hannibal had hoped, most of southern Italy now defected to his side, including the second largest city on the peninsula. Wow, Hannibal, this is incredible. What could possibly come next? The Empire of Germany would decide. Jim Bob, with the British and I've killed 150,000 Romans. I've turned her allies against her. That's it. A little more zing. That's vengeance. When the Germans so let me tell you what comes next. Rome surrenders. Their territories are reduced. Douglas heard the news. He said that there was no possible way the British our lost islands had been presented correctly. But that and Carthage dominates the Mediterranean once again. November 1872, the last British troops sir, left. What if they don't surrender? As the Americans entered the British camp, did you miss what just happened? They found that the British of course they're going to surrender. Throughout his campaign, Hannibal had shown himself to be very adept at reading the Roman mind. But if he now thought that Rome might surrender, it was the first time he severely underestimated them, and he was about to discover an extremely inconvenient fact about Rome. But Rome, thanks to more level-headed never surrenders. For peace and cooperation, at a Roman survivors' camp was avoided, near Cannae, and the only casualty officer overheard some troops discussing how they would flee Rome. But how different? Drawing his sword, he threatened to cut down any man that would abandon Rome in its hour of need. Troops. That officer was Scipio the Younger. But soon enough, the Romans would come to call him Scipio Africanus, still the hero of Rome. Think about it. Why not? We have the manpower. We have the arms. It's our manifest destiny. Picture a future where American Mounties wear red, white, and blue and hail the stars and stripes. Where Wayne Gretzky would wave the American flag every 4th of July in the streets of Montreal. Maple syrup, the greatest American food. Banff, the greatest American national park. One united nation under the leadership of our glorious president, Drake. No longer shall we tolerate our smug neighbors to the north with their affordable insulin and endless comments complaining that I don't talk about Canada enough in my videos. That's right, Canadians. Watch your backs. Sleep with one eye open tonight. Because Biden's coming, baby. And this time, he's coming with a vengeance!